Today, we're going to work through the power rankings, the most comprehensive set of data for the presidential election, ranking Donald Trump versus Joe Biden to see who is actually winning. Not based upon opinion, but based upon people's actual behavior, what they're doing. We put together 24 different factors ranking people's actual behavior to understand who is winning. And I compiled that all together to cover in this video. So, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to frickin' see you. Let's get into the data. So this is what's purported to be an accurate representation of what the collective is thinking. Yes, this poll from Fox News of 1,000 people is supposed to predict what the collective 330 million people in America thinks. Or maybe this one from Mammoth here. This guy's 785, right? 785 people. This is supposed to accurately predict what the collective 330 million people think. This is not a joke. I'm not making this up. You can go to Real Clear Politics and look this up yourself. And then when we dive into some of the actual data here, this is the poll from NPR, right? And we can see that I just pulled up this search here so we can get into the landlines. This is the interview type, right? So this is from NPR. They have 41% from landlines. That means they've called landlines versus 59% they've called on a cell phone. And this is the sample that has 1,108 people in it, right? So they've called 41% of the 1,100 through a landline. Well, a quick Google search. What percentage of people in the United States have a fucking landline? Maybe that's useful, right? Because when we look at this is according to the nationalinterest.org, approximately 6.5% of all people in the United States have a landline. So do you think for a fucking moment that possibly overrepresenting this group by 6x maybe will give you false data? Maybe, just maybe, you're like, no, Stan, that can't be true. That has to be accurate, right? That's what the media reports on. Well, we're going to get into the media in a second before we get into all of the data. But let's dive into another one of these polls to take a look at what's going on. This one is YouGov, and this poll here, right, is 1,208 people. So if you dive into the methodology of how they collect the data, this is, they had a total number of 1,500 people, and they've got registered voters of about 1,208. They had 27 questions, but the area that I have highlighted here, respondents were selected from YouGov's opt-in internet panel using sampling matching. So one of the things that they talk about here is stratifying. So stratification is literally you take the data, this is what it shows up as the data, and then this is reality. And you have to make this fit. So you need to manipulate the data to make it fit into reality. So that's one thing that all polls have in common. Literally taking the set of data of what shows up in reality, and then you have to manipulate it to fit into what actually is taking place. So that's one thing, right? And this is, you can Google this stuff. I studied statistics and I have an MBA and a CFA. Like, this is how this is done. But let's take a look at this opt-in internet panel. Well, they don't specifically say here. However, if you look, there's other surveys and polls that get their data from MTurk. That's what they say in their disclosures. What is MTurk? MTurk is an Amazon company. And you can go there and take these polls, right? These polls, right? This poll here gives you 67 cents related to politics. This one's $1.50. This one's $2. So these polls might take you anywhere from, say, 10 to 15 minutes, maybe to 30 minutes or a half hour, or 30 minutes to 45 minutes for $1, right? And I went through and I did about 50 of these. And my incentive is to click through every question as quickly as humanly possible so that I can get paid faster. So do you think for a fucking moment that getting your getting your data and giving people incentives to click through as quickly as humanly possible is going to get you accurate data, or maybe representing a portion of the population who has landlines as 6 times more what they actually are represented in the population, right? 6%, 6.5% of the total households have these, right? But they have 41%, 6.5 times 6, right? You have about 40%. So they're overrepresenting the portion of people who have landlines by more than 6x. And then they're collecting their panel from an internet opt-in poll. This is not a joke. The next one we have here is from Mammoth, right? So Mammoth here has 785. This one definitely has to be accurate, right? So what a large sample size. So this one is a national random sample of 864 adults, age 18 and older, and it's in English. So again, with just a half a fucking moment of common sense, you can be like, I wonder how many people do not speak English in the United States. Oh, and look at that, about 78% speak English. So there's 22% of the population that's being left out of this. And you can come down, and that is from Wikipedia, and then you can come down here from this is the census.gov, and they have about 292 million people, right? There's 330 roughly. So there's a lot of people who don't fucking speak any English. All those people are not represented. That doesn't mean they're not citizens. They just don't necessarily speak English. So you can see that none of these can be accurate. And the other thing is, check this out. They're all for Biden. That's kind of interesting, right? How did that turn out for everybody in 2016? Right? They had exactly the same thing, but all these polls here were for Clinton. Now, if you use the methodology that we use here, you would have actually predicted who was going to win in 2016. So let's move on to the next thing here. When these polls are done, then the media takes this and they report that this poll of 785 people from Mammoth College here, or university or organization, or whatever it is representative of what the collective thinks. And this is why a lot of people call the news fake. And if you look up here, it says fake news, also known as junk news, right? That's pretty much all you need to read. Because when you realize that, like, if you were trying to, for example, lose weight, and you tell me that you eat McDonald's for breakfast every day, you have ice cream for lunch, and then you get pizza every night for dinner, and you can't understand why you're not losing weight, because when you feed yourself garbage, what do you think is going to happen? And that is what's taking place right now. Another thing, which I think is a little bit more on the accurate side of what's happening. It's called disinformation, right? And it's not the same thing as misinformation. Misinformation and disinformation are two different things. Disinformation is false or misleading information that is spread deliberately to deceive. Let me show you an example here. So this is from AP News. Health official, Trump rally, likely source of virus surge. This was in July, right? This is from AP News. This is from the Colorado Sun. Black Lives Matter protests may have slowed overall spread of coronavirus in Denver and other cities, new study finds. So what is going on here? Well, that, my friends, is called fucking disinformation. Hypocrisy, right? Holding two different standards, right? You're held to one standard, I'm held to a different standard. That's what's taking place right here. That's why people think the media, I don't even call them the news, because the news has connotations associated with it as some type of accurate representation of reality. And the media does not have any incentive to portray an accurate version of reality, does not have an incentive to be objective with what they report, does not try to be accurate, objective, and ethical with what they do, right? You know, just journalism, ethics, those things that people used to hold themselves to, out the door, completely gone. I think Malcolm X says it very nicely that something along the lines of the media is the most powerful organization in the world. They have the power to turn somebody who is innocent and make them guilty, and the power to make somebody who is guilty innocent. And we see this take place over and over again. So what we did is put together 24 different factors, all based upon people's actual behavior versus their opinion. According to the definition on Google, an opinion, a view or judgment formed about something versus behavior, a way in which one acts or conducts oneself, right? So that is kind of interesting. We want to understand what people are actually doing. Think if your boss is over your shoulder, how your work behavior is, versus your boss is on vacation in another country for 3 months. What is your behavior? And so what we did to figure this out is we took data from some of the top sites in the planet. A lot of those are represented here. This is the most popular websites in the world according to Wikipedia. They compiled data from Alexa, which is a analytics website, and SimilarWeb, which is very similar to Alexa in terms of gathering different page views and information about websites to come up with a ranking. So they're very similar, but they use a slightly different methodology, and they have both of these up here. So let's take a look at the first factor here. So this is from Facebook, and we get to see the total number. We're looking at Trump's Facebook page versus Biden's Facebook page. What are people actually doing? And we get to see that Trump easily wins when it comes to the total number of likes that have been gained over the last 30 days, right? You would think that Trump would have more likes in general, right? Because he's the president versus Joe Biden. But he's also got more likes to his page over the last 30 days than Joe Biden. He's got more people talking about him than Joe Biden. And the other thing is we take a look at the total amount of search volume, right, for Donald Trump Facebook versus Joe Biden Facebook on Google. Google is the largest site in the planet, as we just saw over here. And we take a look over here, and this is just for different search terms. But we take a look at, oh, there's my phone going off. We take a look at the total search volume in the United States for Donald Trump Facebook, Joe Biden Facebook. And we get to see, again, Trump is winning. So then we take a look at Twitter. And all this data was compiled over the last week. This is 8/15/2020. So make sure you press that subscribe button because we've got more coming out soon. Biden did win one category, which we're going to get to in a moment. On Twitter, again, we take a look at the total number of followers gained over the last 30 days for each one of their Twitter accounts. The total number of media published. So this is a gauge of how much work somebody's actually putting in. If you sell pies in your local neighborhood and you go out and you talk to 1,000 people in your neighborhood, and I go out and I talk to 100 people in my neighborhood, who do you think is going to sell more pies? Well, my friends, in 2020, attention is the game. And the better able you are to communicate your message to the world, right? Because we already know the media doesn't have, there's an agenda there, and the agenda is not the truth, is not accuracy, is not objectivity, right? That's not what they're trying to achieve. So you have to be able to communicate with the audience, with the people. And we can see that Trump puts in a lot more work to communicate with the public than Biden does. Again, we looked at Donald Trump, Twitter, Joe Biden, Twitter, easily wins. This is the gauge of engagement. How many people, if I were to tweet something, how many people take my tweet and then retweet it to their wall? And again, we looked at the last 10 tweets for Biden versus Trump. And again, Trump wins easily. The next here is Google search volume and YouTube search volume. So if we go back over here, we can see here that Google is the #1 site in the planet, followed by YouTube. And using their convenient tool here, we get to see who is actually more popular. So we get to search in the United States over 3 different time periods, 12-month, 3-month, and 1 month, to understand who is actually winning. And we didn't search Trump 2020. We searched Donald Trump and Joe Biden, and then we search Trump 2020 and Biden 2020 to understand, right? One of those might just be people who are interested in researching Biden, and one of those people might be just interested in looking into Biden or Trump, right? So there's some overlap right there, but across the board, the majority of people are just overwhelmingly supporting Trump across the board. So we again see that Trump wins in both of those, whether it was their name they were searching for or their name and then 2020. This is one example of over the last 30 days. This was when Biden found out, just like the rest of us, who his VP was going to be. And you can see there was an increase in search volume. Yes, I said that right. That's when Biden found out who his VP was going to be, right? Because I don't think a lot of us actually believed that he had any actual choice in who his VP was going to be, and his handlers picked that for him. The next, which I find is super interesting, is we look at multiple different sites that rank each website. Why do you go to a website? One of 2 reasons: to get information or to purchase something, right? Whether that's entertainment information, whether that is news information, or some other type of research that you might be doing to gather data. And the other reason is to purchase something. You can think of Amazon or anything, right? So if your website has 40 million people going to it every month, and mine has 6 million, who do you think's going to get more money? You or me? Even if your website sucks, right? If I've got 5 million, you got 40 million, you got 8 times more people coming to your website. Your conversions could suck balls, and you're still going to get more money, more email addresses, more data on the people coming to your site than I'm going to get. Because people are actually trying to figure out who you are. And we both know websites are just a glorified ad for that individual, right? If you go to joebiden.com, it's just a glorified ad of what he says he stands for, or what his handlers say he stands for, right? And that's all it is. Same thing with Trump. It's just all of what he says he stands for. So the website is very, very interesting. We take a look at 5 different factors on there. We take a look at the United States, whose website is more popular. Again, that was easily Trump. Over the last 90 days, who's gained in popularity the most? Again, that was Trump. Who has more visitors coming to their website? Again, that was Trump, and it was like 26 million to like 5 million, so about 5x. The next is the total number of like influencers who are actually linking up to each website. These are people who probably have jobs in terms of their sole job is the internet and their website, right? Many people have a website and they run a website to make money. Whether you're aware of this or not, there's plenty of websites out there that generate several $1 million and nobody's ever heard of them. And a lot of these websites are linking to Donald Trump, which means that they're sending traffic to Donald Trump's website. And it's, again, about 3 to 1 there. More people are referring people to Donald Trump's website than Joe Biden's website. Pretty interesting, right? Nothing the media is going to tell you. And again, we looked at total number of searches. So on here, we looked at Donald Trump website, Joe Biden website. And again, Trump wins. More people are interested in looking for Trump's website than they are for Joe Biden's. So why does this over here, why does the media report this as being what's going on? Well, remember, this is not even slightly an accurate representation of reality. We've got them ridiculously overemphasizing people who have landline. I personally know one person who has a landline, and that's my dad. I don't know anybody else who has a landline. No, I don't know anybody else. My grandma had one, and she's dead. So like those are the 2 people that I know. My mom doesn't even have a landline, and she's 70. So that's one spot. Then you go to like places like MTurk, where you get paid 67 cents to take a survey, And all you want to do is click through the survey as quickly as possible so that you can maybe do 10 of these surveys in an hour and get $6.70 for the hour worth of work you did, right? You're not thinking about the accuracy of what information you're putting forwards. And this is data that's reported as being accurate to the masses. Or maybe you just cut off 20% of the total population and just say that they're not voting, right? By only talking to people in English, right? So when you have garbage foundation of data to start with, what do you think happens? So the next tip we took a look at is Instagram. We took a look at the number of followers gained over the last 30 days. Again, Trump, the average number of comments over the last 30 days, over the last 20 posts. Again, Trump. The average number of likes over the last 10 posts. Trump. The hashtag usage, hashtag Trump 2020, Biden 2020. And again, that number is like 2.6, 2.7 million to like 170,000. It's not even in the fucking same neighborhood. There's way more people who support Trump than support Biden. And then again, we look at searches, right? Because this is the data trove that we go to look and understand what people are actually doing with their behavior. What are people searching for? Donald Trump Instagram, Joe Biden Instagram, to understand who, relatively speaking between the two, is more interesting to the American public. You have to capture somebody's attention, right? And if you're Sleepy Joe in the basement in Delaware, like, what are you doing? You're not communicating with the public. And if you're not taking questions and you just don't have the capacity, like mental capacity to take questions, like, that's not gonna, like, you've got the media trying to prop you up. So on that side, like, that's good for Joe because he's got the media who backs him, right? But the American public doesn't. It's pretty interesting, right? The last category here, which Biden actually, this is the 1 out of 24 where Biden is actually winning here. And I'll get into that in a moment. So this is the YouTube channel. So each one of them has a YouTube channel. The total number of subscribers gained over the last 30 days, Trump. The total number of views over the last 30 days, Biden has actually beaten Trump in this ranking for the last 3 weeks. First, and the reasons that I saw behind this were bringing on Obama and having multiple videos with Obama. That helped tremendously. And then also with the VP announcement for when Joe Biden found out who his VP was going to be, and his handlers picked that out for him, then there seems to be a surge in interest of trying to understand more what's going on. So this right here was kind of interesting. It's about 2 to 1, meaning two views for Biden versus every 1 view for Trump's channel. Trump's channel has been consistently growing. Biden's channel has been consistently growing in total number of views for the past 60 days or so since we've been doing this. Again, we looked at search volume on the largest site in the planet. We looked at Donald Trump YouTube, Joe Biden YouTube, Trump wins. This is the total number of, this is the awareness around these. And based on 22 other factors here, you probably know where this is going. We looked at the top 10 videos for each candidate over the last 30 days on YouTube. So if you search Donald Trump, you can filter on the last 30 days and by views. And this easily is about 3 to 1 for Trump versus Biden. Way more people are interested in them. And then influencers. So this one is super interesting, and it goes back to some of these other categories, right? With the hashtag usage, people referring people into them, right? And this is the number of retweets, because these are all factors that are engaging, right? People are actually doing things, right? We have the average number of likes, the average number of comments, we have people talking about. So with each one of these, pretty much, we have an engagement factor included on every single platform. The one on YouTube is interesting because that requires the most amount of work, right? On Facebook, you can talking about is categorized as multiple different things, like a comment, a share, and a couple other things according to Facebook. On Twitter, a retweet is just a simple button click, just like on YouTube. To get included in the talking about number is just a very simple action to take. On their website, that requires more work, but generally you're just taking a link and you're going to be putting it into some place on your website to send traffic over, depending on if an entire article was put together, right? Because that requires work as well. Hashtag usage, relatively easy, right? So the two more telling ones here are going to be the website and the YouTube channel. A YouTube channel, generally speaking, requires a little bit more work, right? Because whether somebody's doing research or doing editing or both, and then they're going to publish that on their channel. And generally speaking, then you're going to go through and optimize it on the channel. You're going to put tags on it. You're going to put a title on it. You're going to create some type of thumbnail, and then you're probably going to market that in some way. So this is total number of people who have put out a video within the last hour that had Donald Trump in the thumbnail or the title of the video. And the same thing for Biden. Had one of those two things in there, otherwise it wouldn't be counted. If I searched for Donald Trump and it didn't have Trump in the thumbnail or in the title of the video, I did not include that in the ranking. And it was like 65 videos for Trump versus like 23, I think, or 24 for Joe Biden. A big difference that also requires a lot of work. So when you take a look at the power rankings based upon people's actual behavior relative to what the media purports as reality, you get a different picture. It's time to start waking up and thinking for yourself. The media does not have your best interest. The media is not trying to tell the truth. They are not trying to be objective. They're not trying to be accurate. There's an agenda there and perverse incentives, right? Because they want views. We'll just leave aside the nefarious, complete and utter bias associated with some networks, right? Like just ridiculous bias. You're just like, wow, that is completely inaccurate, right? We're not even going to talk about that. But if you just look at the incentives, they have an incentive to take any bit of information that could come across as normal and manipulate it and twist it into such a way that they can potentially try to get more eyeballs. And that is why more and more people realize that the news is just a freaking joke. I got rid of my TV in 2009, and I haven't owned a TV since then. I highly, highly recommend not watching any television, especially if it's anything to do with the news, because you're just going to be filling yourself with garbage. Just like if you told me you wanted to lose weight and you're eating McDonald's and pizza and ice cream every single day, same exact thing. If you want to actually be able to think for yourself and wake up, you should not be consuming the garbage. I don't understand government today purporting to get people to rely more on the government instead of telling people the truth. The only person you can rely on, my friends, is looking back at you in the fucking mirror every day. And you actually have to show the fuck up. If you want to change something in your life, if you want more money, if you want a better life, however you determine that. If you want a better relationship, if you want new things, if you want to move, if you want anything, the government tells you to rely on them. You need to rely on yourself. That is the only thing that should be incentivized for government, to get people to think and to act for themselves. That's it. That's where you get the freedom, right? Because when you realize that nobody gives a shit about you, and the only thing that's going to change your life is that pretty face staring back at you in the morning every day when you brush your teeth, that's when things start to change. If you appreciate what we're doing here, make sure you take a moment and share this on Twitter or share this on some other platform so you can spread the awareness of what is actually taking place. We know this is not accurate. This is not even slightly accurate. Share the truth and help wake America up. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to press that subscribe button so you can get notified next time I drop a video. Peace.